Hi, well, I'm here with Captain Peter Hornfeldt, who's joining me from Spain, I believe. Better known, or perhaps not better known, but also known as Mentour Pilot, and one of the co-founders of the Airline Pilot Club. So, Peter, what's going on?
Well, first of all, Ian, thank you very much for letting me on here. Yeah, it's a lot of things going on right now. I am confined to my house as well. This is day 7 now, and yeah, I basically the only thing I'm doing is producing videos and thinking of producing videos and walking around the house to try to keep myself in shape.
Yeah. Okay, I need to fix that.
Yeah, don't worry.
There you go. I took you. So, you're confined to your house. You've been confined to your house for 7 days, you say?
Yes. Yeah. The Spanish government went into emergency measures last Friday, and that entails all citizens staying indoors if they can't stay indoors, only move around for essential business like getting groceries or going to the hospital or buying medication or anything like that. So that's basically what I'm doing at the moment, unfortunately.
Okay. Before we go on, do you want to tell us a little bit about Airline Pilot Club?
Yeah, sure. So the Airline Pilot Club is an initiative that came from Captain Andy O'Shea, which is my co-founder. He came to me about a year ago now, and we started talking about ways that we could improve, basically how we could find more qualified, good pilots out there, and how we could potentially help these pilots who might not have access to funding, so they might not even have thought about becoming pilots, but they would make great pilots. So how we could kind of dig into the layers of people that would be a fantastic source of future pilots, help them through, and also in the secondary stage, finding good ATOs, as in training organizations, to make sure that these pilots, if they were to get access to funding, were going through only really good, well-tested training organizations. And then at the very last end, finding airlines that would be interested in taking on these pilots, at least for an interview. So the idea was that we saw that there was a future need for a lot of pilots in the industry. And we saw also that there were issues with, at the moment it costs 80,000 to 100,000 to become a pilot, and not everyone who would be well suited to be a pilot has that lying around or can mortgage their parents' house. So that was the original idea of the Airline Pilot Club.
I'm guessing that at the moment that's kind of the main impetus for that has changed probably somewhat, at least right now.
Well, we're still working on that. We are working on the same premises. Obviously, it's a very, very fast-moving, changing environment at the moment. But the foundational pieces that we had already put in place, so that we have, we were almost ready to launch it, like an indicative assessment for people, so that they can come in and get an assessment of whether or not they're suitable to become airline pilots, and also get feedback from that assessment, showing them what personality parts they need to improve, if any. That is still going on, and that we think is going to add a lot of value. And we have also got some insurance pieces that we have been working on in order for people to be able to insure their flight training even before they go into it. So there's a lot of pieces that are not directly connected to the funding, which is still ongoing. The funding we're still working on as well, but obviously right now there's so much uncertainty, so we don't know how long that will take us.
Yeah, I mean, early days, obviously. I was talking to someone earlier, and we were talking about the fact that it probably takes, I don't know, somewhere between 2 and 7 years if you start your training tomorrow to be ready, depending on which route you follow and if you have any breaks between it. So in a way, if someone was starting their training today, apart from the fact that most of the flight schools in Spain, I guess, and many throughout France and stuff like that are actually grounded at the moment. But hypothetically, you're really trying to predict what the pilot requirement is in 2, 3, or more years' time, which is quite a tough prediction to make, to be honest.
Very. I mean, the predictions that we were making, the fact that we saw that there was going to be a shortage of pilots eventually out there, and the reason we wanted to do this to both help the pilots and the industry and the schools was based on things like, for example, the baby boomers going into retirement, which is happening now. No matter what's going on in the world, they are going to retirement from 2021, 22 and onwards. So that will mean that there's a shift in balance. Basically, there's a lot of people that's disappearing out of the workforce that was there before. But also the like all of the indications before this happened in the industry was pointing straight up, as in more and more pilots needed in the Asian region. Of course, there was forecasted from some of the biggest flight schools together with the manufacturers like Boeing and Airbus, a need for about 90,000 new pilots in Asia, about 85,000 in North America, and about 50,000 in Europe over a 10-year period from 2017 to 27. So there was a huge need, and that was what we were basing our models on. Now that need is hopefully still going to be there, but as happened with 9/11 and with the 2008 crisis, there becomes a bit of a jack in the curve before it starts shooting off again. So depending on how deep that jack is, we're going to have to, we're just going to have to wait and see. It's presumptions to sit and guess what's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. No one knows, and I guess that's why you're trying to predict your training and your availability quite a few years ahead. And at the same time, if you're going to do that, then right now, and actually probably it's always been this case, and it probably always will be this case, you need to build in some kind of contingency buffer, plan B thinking along the way. I would suggest.
Absolutely. This is something, whenever these, I mean, I do frequent live streams on my YouTube channel, which normally there's about 10,000 people watching. And yeah, I know, it's crazy. But
I could watch you all day.
I
could watch you all day, Petter.
Well, thank you. No, but these questions always come up. Obviously, someone who's about to make a major financial commitment, which flight training always has been, they're always going to want assurances saying that, okay, if I do this now, how likely is it that I'm going to get a job in 2 years? And I've always said that depending on where we were, I started this channel in 2015, then it was all climbing upwards. Everything was getting better and better after the financial crisis. From about a year back or so, you could see that it was kind of topping off a little bit. So, but I've been saying that overall, the curve is going steady upwards with just a little bit of slowdowns every 4 years or so. But there's always a but, and that is that the industry is extremely sensitive to changes in the economical environment, be that because of banking crisis, because of wars, or as we see now, because of disease. The first hit industry tends to be the travel industry. So that's always been one of those buts that I always put in, that you never know if something like that pops up.
Yeah, I think people in training at the moment and people considering training are at this current time. You could consider this the practical module on the instability of the aviation market.
Correct.
You are living it and taking that course right now.
Yes.
As unpleasant as it actually is right now.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, there's no two ways about it. There will be havoc because of this. There will be a downturn. There's going to be a rough time to be in the airline business, both for people getting into the business, but also for people who are in the business. We don't know how long that rough period would be, but if you look back at 9/11, for example, we're looking at about a year or two where there is a lot of shaking of the ground. We still don't know if this is going to be less or more than those ones. But I like to remind people that I was in training in 2001. Like, I came out of an ATPL training session just when the second plane hit the tower. And I realized then that the world was going to change. Like the world looked one way the day before, and it's going to look a different way the day after. And we're seeing the same thing now. This is a watershed moment in history, and we will remember where we were when this happened.
Yeah.
But what we can be sure of,
and most of us will be at home.
Yeah. True. But what can be absolutely sure of is that the human race is resilient, and we have decided that we want a certain type of life quality, and we want to try to achieve that. So if we can, we will try to get that back, which means that when the virus has been defeated, be that via vaccines or via medicines or via the confinement that we're seeing now, we will work against trying to continue to travel, continue to go, travel through Europe like I do. I have my family up in northern Sweden. I'm going to go back there. So we're going to see travel patterns starting to come back again. And as the fear disappears, it's hopefully going to come back and keep working the way that it did before this. Yeah. So, it's not. This is not an endless black hole. It's a tunnel, and there's a light at the end of that.
Yeah, it's just sometimes, and understandably at the moment, it's quite difficult to see that light because the tunnel's just suddenly appeared.
Yes,
in a very short space of time. Do you have any plans through ACP or anything else to offer any other kind of different support or help or anything during the next few weeks, months, whatever it is?
Oh, absolutely. So me and Andy, we got together when we saw where this was heading and saying that we need to completely change into some kind of emergency mode here. We need to restructure the website, which we haven't opened yet. We were just about to open it, into a vehicle to help people instead. And in a crisis management situation, if you look at how an organization like an airline, for example, would deal with a crisis, one of the first things that you need is good and accurate information in order to build your decision-making model on. So what we're trying to do with the Airline Pilot Club at the moment is take in questions from the public, that is people who are on the way into training, just finished training, or people who've lost their jobs, see what are their fears, what are their questions, and then use the network that I have, and certainly Andy have, and the other people who are in the Airline Pilot Club, to reach out to decision makers and try to get interviews like this in force, so that we can ask the questions, get answers to the questions, and feed that back. So that's one thing, trying to become a vehicle for good and accurate information.
How do you like people to contact you?
There is a form on the website. So the airlinepilotclub.com, and there's a form either for ATOs who can contact us if they have messages that they want to send out, or if you are a student, then you go in there as well, and you can, and that's going to come up. We also want to be very clear to say that, like, we're just two dudes. Like we're going to try to do and help as much as we possibly can, but we're no gurus, so we will not be able to answer everything. What we'll start to look for is patterns to see what are the common questions, what are people really worried about, and then try to find answers to those questions. So rather than having each and every one answered, there's going to be me, for example, making a video or an interview or something, sending it out through the club's website and also through my YouTube channel to reach as much people as possible.
Yeah, it's great that you can start, even at this early stage, you can start to see some of those support structures of the big airline family starting to move in and try and keep things together. Yeah,
and like it is amazing, and it's positive to see the will that is there from some of the biggest airline training, some of the biggest flight schools in there, who are now working really, really hard to support their students, even financially, trying to. I've been in contact with one, whose name we're not allowed to mention yet, but we're seeing training organizations helping out with accommodation, for example, even daily allowances. We've seen helping to get them back home to their families, basically taking a lot of responsibility, which is exactly what we would expect big, good training organization to do, but also on behalf of airlines and so on. I mean, now it's full crisis mode, so it's hard to judge what's going on at the moment, but you are right when you say that you can see that people are now trying to come together to try to help.
Yeah.
And I think that's a must. I think for people like you, yourself, for example, and me, who can come with good information, who can try to help, it's our duty to do that at a point like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, it's been great talking to you. If it's okay with you, then I suggest as the situation evolves and things change, that maybe we update every couple of weeks or something, depending on what happens. And
I have, as it looks, I'm going to be sitting here, so you know where to find me. One thing that I forgot to mention that actually, and it's worth saying. We can see a huge need for people who will be locked down, like myself, but flight students as well, who might be sitting at home, not being able to fly, not being able to kind of learn as they would have if they would have stayed in flight school. So another thing that we're working on the club is trying to create virtual classrooms so that ATOs could reach out to us and say that, listen, we would like to do a course in meteorology, or we are going to do a course in how to write a good CV or techniques for interviews, and just do these kind of free webinars that people can lock into and keep learning, keep their heads spinning. If you're sitting on the ground.
Yeah. Great initiative.
I hope so.
I might even sign up for a few myself and see what I can learn.
Yeah, are you guys on lockdown, or are you still?
We're not on lockdown at the moment. No, no. I suspect it's coming, but I don't really know. It's a strange world, full of rumors.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's also a point that we've been trying to make, and I've been trying to make through the channel, is that people have to be very careful with what kind of information that they use now to make their decisions, because there's a lot of things running around on social media, and there's a lot of WhatsApp groups that's feeding each other. I would really, really encourage people to, make sure to see what sources it is that you're looking at. Only follow really good professionals that knows what they're talking about, and don't retweet something just because it looks, dangerous. Because
trust but verify.
Yeah, exactly. The panic is almost palpable, and there can be some real damage made by the wrong information being spread out quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great point. Well, thank you very much. Have a good weekend. Don't stray too far. Enjoy your walking around your apartment.
Yeah, apparently my wife managed to do 133 laps around the house in 1 hour yesterday, so I'm going to try to beat that today.
Is she there with you, or is she in Sweden or something?
No, she's here. My whole family is here. We live in Catalonia now, so we're all here.
Good. Great. Well, have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed that, or at least if it was useful. If you did, could you please give us a thumbs up and subscribe? Thank you.